My friend, if you're struggling finding, vetting, training, and managing virtual team members for your real estate business, I have the solution for you. Call Magicians is the premier virtual assistant company in the real estate industry. And basically what they'll do is allow you to focus on closing more deals and doing the things you love while they handle the work for you. Head over to callmagicians.com and see if you're a good fit to work together. And make sure you use the promo code FLIPEMPIRE for a 20% discount off your startup fee. And by the way, the owner's a friend of mine and shares tons of value, gives a lot of useful tips on episode 540. So check it out at flipempire.com/540.
You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
Accountability separates the wishers in life from the action takers that care enough about their future to account for their daily actions. John Delem said that, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I want to talk to you on today's podcast episode number 569 about accountability. And I want to share with you a few personal stories that I'm hoping just kind of land home with you, because I just recently, a couple hours ago, got off of a really impactful coaching call with one of our Ascend members. And I even asked her if I could share part of this coaching call with you guys here on the podcast, because I asked her, I said, obviously our coaching calls are 100% confidential, but here's what I'm thinking. I'd like to create a podcast episode and talk about accountability. I want to share my personal story, one that I shared with Erica. And I would like to share your story if that's okay with you. And number one, I think it would really help people. And number two, it'll just additional accountability for you. And this is me speaking to Erica. And she was like, man, Alex, you are making me feel uncomfortable today, but I am game. Let's do it. Go for it. So with Erica's permission, I want to kind of share with you the inspiration behind this podcast episode and why this, why am I here talking to you about accountability? When I think back at the lessons learned in my life, the failures in business, the wins in business, in my personal life, where I've succeeded, where I've fallen, when I've succeeded and when I've had those big wins, there was always a level of accountability in place. There was an accountability system that made my desired outcome inevitable, right? And that was either by forced accountability, i.e., a coach, a mentor, a mastermind, me publicly declaring something, a goal that I shared with a group of people, a commitment followed by relentless action. And then conversely, when I think about the times where I've set out to do something where I haven't followed through, there was a lack of accountability in place. I didn't put myself out there. I didn't make, my words weren't backed by my action. When we commit to do something, have we created and structured our environment in a way in which accomplishing what it is we want to accomplish is inevitable? And that's one of the questions I asked Erica. And just to kind of hop into that part of the story, Erica and I were on a call earlier today. And Erica, first of all, just incredible person, very real, very authentic, a lot of experience, has closed a lot of deals in Birmingham, Alabama, and is starting to get known just as a thought leader. And people are going to her, she's starting to coach people. She launched a YouTube channel. But the challenge that she was having that she shared with me on this particular call is that she wasn't being consistent with creating content and publishing videos on her YouTube channel. And, she had created some videos and she put them out and she was kind of being a little bit inconsistent. And I remember on one of our calls, she kind of shared with me that it's a process because I got to get ready and I got to do this. And I kind of challenged her on that call. I said, listen, screw all that. Forget wanting the stars to align and wanting everything to be perfect. Life's not perfect. It's better to just get it going and figure it out along the way than it is to procrastinate because, You weren't wearing what you wanted to wear, or you didn't have your makeup on, or whatever the case might be, right? And sometimes, and I'm guilty of this. If you've been listening to the Flip Empire show for a while, you know that I've shared with you that I had been thinking about starting a podcast for a while prior to when I actually did it, June of 2016. And one of the reasons I didn't start this podcast when I wanted to, because I was stuck in my head. I was worried about, what if I said the wrong thing? What if I stuttered? What if people didn't like me? Like all this crap that now I kind of look back and I just laugh, because it doesn't matter. And if you're trying to please everyone, and if you're trying to make everybody like you, you're setting yourself up for failure. And oftentimes I find that when we want to do something and we don't follow through, it's because we're stuck in our head. We're either feeding ourselves a story that is disempowering versus one that's empowering. And then sometimes we procrastinate because we just get overwhelmed by steps 1, 2, and 3. We want everything to be figured out. We want to buy a puzzle, go to the store, pick out a puzzle. We want to open the box, and we want it to come together quickly. And what you first got to do with a puzzle is you start working around the edges, and you start to build out the frame. And that's really an analogy that I want you to take moving forward today. And it's something that I think can be applied to life or business, and both. And so back to Erica, she's got a lot of value to share, and she wants her voice and her message heard, but she was just being very inconsistent. Life gets in the way. She's a mother. She's a wife. She's an entrepreneur. She's got a lot of responsibilities, like many of you. And but this is very important to her. And so, to her credit, she wasn't creating excuses, but yet she wasn't getting the outcome that she wanted, And so I asked her, I said, how can you structure your environment in a way in which your desired outcome, i.e. you producing 2 videos per week, is inevitable? How do you make it so that you can't fail? And, she quickly said, well, I'm going to implement this, I'm going to implement this, I'm going to time block. I'm going to implement this particular schedule/calendar system. And I asked her, and I continued to probe, and I said, well, have you done that in the past? And how has that worked out? And it's been kind of hit or miss. And I shared with her, I said, while some of those systems can be good, I don't see how that makes it inevitable for you to achieve your desired outcome. It's too easy to have a calendar system in place and to time block and to just blow past that because life gets in the way, because curveballs are thrown your way. And just know that when it's the most inopportune time, Murphy's going to come knocking, right? Like things happen. And so you have to adjust for those. You have to create margins in your schedule to allow it to be flexible, because things are going to get in the way. Life is not going to go as planned. And it's too easy to just not honor the time blocking schedule that you have for yourself. So I said, what else? We need some real accountability in place here. We needed to make this so that there is no choice but for you to follow through and actually commit, followed by relentless action. So I said, I want to share with you a personal story. And now I want to kind of, on the podcast here, I don't think I've ever shared this. This was 2009 or 2010. I had gotten involved in the information marketing business, and I wanted to create. I was in the process of creating a course for teaching people how to wholesale properties. Up until that point, I had been in the business 5-6 years. I had a lot of success and done a lot of deals, and people were starting to kind of ask me questions, and I wanted to create a separate business that could produce some additional revenue. And I wanted to parlay it. I wanted to be something that I knew very well, that I knew I could teach and help people. So at that time, I partnered up with a friend of mine, and I was going to publish him. He was going to kind of be the face of it. He was going to be the one kind of teaching people his systems, his processes. And I was going to be the one just handling, the marketing aspect of it, promoting it online, the internet marketing, getting affiliates. In fact, I was coordinating this big product launch at the time. Product launches, back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12 were very, very popular during those days. And but I had just been procrastinating because if you've ever run a product launch, there's a lot of moving parts to it. You gotta create the copy or hire a copywriter. We had to create script and film videos. We had to have upsells and downsells, and we were split testing things and getting affiliates on board, and the merchant account and the payment processor, the website. There's all these different things that go into it. The autoresponder series. Obviously, you have the offer, right? How do you make an irresistible offer? Testing different price points. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I found myself just kind of first time going through this process, feeling overwhelmed. Have you ever been in a situation where something is of high priority to you? You have this thing you want to accomplish, this project, this goal, a task, whatever it might be, but you tend to get overwhelmed because there's all these moving parts and you've never done it before. So you're not sure where to go. And so you do a little bit of this, you do a little bit of that. And that's what I found myself doing. So similar to how I've done in the past, I said, I need accountability and I need somebody who's been there, done that. So I ended up hiring an internet marketing coach who had done several successful product launches to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, one of the product launches was a 7-figure product launch. And I sent him a wire for $20,000. I remember at the time, I don't think I have ever paid more for coaching at that time. So at the time, I think that was the most money I had ever spent on coaching. And it's a lot of money, however you slice it. And so I sent the wire for $20,000 for this person to coach me, to get a lot of questions answered, and more importantly, for the accountability. Because I knew that the moment I sent that money, there was no way I wasn't going to follow through on successfully bringing this product to market, i.e. having a successful product launch, going through, like, the fact that I sent that wire just significantly accelerated me going through the process to achieve what I set out to achieve. Whether I was going to succeed or fail, I knew that this person was in my corner. He had been there, done that. And the fact that I exchanged value for his coaching and mentorship meant that I was going to follow through. On a side note, sometimes I'm just baffled when people spend money, particularly significant amounts of money, and then they don't follow through. I never really understood that. And to me, that just meant that the exchange of money for whatever it is they wanted, that pain of not following through wasn't high enough. So the reason I'm sharing this story with you, and I shared this with Erica, is because I told Erica, I said, we need to figure out a consequence for you not following through. And I know you so well. I know the type of person you are, that just by you committing to me verbally and by accepting this consequence, I know you're not going to experience the consequence because you're going to follow through. But just in case, I want to share this story with you, and then I want you to come up with your consequence. So back to my personal story. Sent the $20,000 wire to this particular gentleman, and I remember my first coaching call with him. He was reviewing my offer. He was looking at some of the copy we had created, some of the videos, the funnel, the whole nine, right? And he said, "So when are you going to launch this?" This is towards the end of the call. Mind you, this is my first call with this guy. I had literally the day before sent him 20 grand. My first call with this guy. It's about, by the way, we're talking like a 15, 20-minute call. I wasn't on the phone with him for like an hour. And so towards the end of this short call, he goes to me, "So when are you launching this?" Mind you, I had been working on this for probably 2.5 months, maybe 3. And I didn't have a date yet. So he made me commit to a date on that call. And I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to launch it this day." And he goes, "Okay, perfect. So this is the day you're going to launch this thing?" "Yes, this is the day I'm going to launch this thing." He goes, "Okay, here's the next thing I want you to do." He goes, "You got a checkbook around?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, I'm already starting to wonder, like, why is he asking me if I have a checkbook? Like, I literally, I was going to say, like, "Dude, I just sent you a $20,000 wire. Like, don't expect a check in the mail." And this is me thinking to myself. And he goes, "I want you to write out a check for $10,000, make it payable to my name. And then, do you have my address?" And I'm like, I kind of pause. And I'm like, I didn't respond to him. He's like, "Yo, you got my address?" I said, "No." He goes, "Get down my address really quick." So I wrote down his address, and he goes, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write this check, put it in an envelope, and send it out in the mail to me today. Once I receive it, I will let you know. If you don't launch this product by this day, I'm cashing the check. And I was like frozen. I had just sent this guy $20,000. I did it because I wanted accountability. Here he was taking the accountability to a whole nother level. And I'm not going to lie to you, like it was challenging for me to make that investment, especially at that time. It was a lot of money. Mind you, I was doing it in a business that I didn't really have a whole lot of experience in, but I was betting on myself. And it was tough enough for me to make that investment. And I'm so glad I did. And when he did that, it just proved to me that, like, I know for sure I'm getting this thing launched by this day. Like, no matter what gets in my way, I'm launching this product, whether it's exactly how I want it to look or not, this thing's getting launched. And so I sent him the check, and he said, I'm going to hold it. And if and when you do launch this product, and he goes, by the way, I'm betting on you. I'll rip it up and I'll send you proof that I ripped it up. It won't be cashed. And I was like, wow, and I did it. I followed through. I wrote the check. I sent it to him in the mail. And guess what? I got the product launched before the date that I had committed to, because there was no way that I was going to let this dude cash $10,000 when I had just finished sending him 20. Even if I wouldn't have sent him anything, I wasn't going to just throw away 10 grand. And so I shared that story with Erica, and she's like, I think I know where you're going with this. And I said, well, I'm not going to do the same thing, but I'm going to see what you come back to me with. I said, so first of all, how many videos do you want published on your YouTube channel? And she said, I want to publish 2 videos a week. And I said, okay, perfect. So here's what we're going to do. It's November 9th. I want you to commit for 12 weeks straight to publish 2 videos on your YouTube channel, which basically takes you through the end of the year. Do you commit to publish 2 videos per week on your YouTube channel? By the way, this doesn't mean you like publish 2 videos on week 1 and then the next 2 on week 3. That would mean that you'd fail. Every single week, 2 videos for 12 weeks straight. And then let's reevaluate after 3 months and let's see where you're at. Let's just start building the momentum. Let's get the train on the track and the wheels going. You ever think of a train, how it goes slow in the beginning? It goes slow and then it starts picking up, and then it gets to top speed. And when the conductor tries to slow it down, he needs, I don't know how many hundreds of yards to then finally get it to a stop. When a train is in motion and it's in top speed, it's so hard to stop it. But before you can get to top speed, you got to first get it on the tracks, and you got to get it moving. And that's what I wanted to do with Erica. I wanted to hold her accountable. I wanted to challenge her. I wanted to just get her moving and get her being consistent. I remember when I launched this podcast, I committed to my coach that I was going to record and publish 2 episodes every single week until I decided not to do the show anymore, if that ever came. Well, here we are 5.5 years later, and I've never missed a week where 2 shows were not published. And it's documented. You can check it out on Apple Podcasts and some of the other platforms out there. Every single week for 5.5 years, 2 shows have been recorded and released on the Flip Empire Show. And I think that's part of the reason the show's gained some momentum, and it's really grown. And I've been able to, fortunately, just very grateful for the impact and for the community and for the messages, because had I never been consistent with it, it would have never happened. I guarantee you that if I recorded this show kind of whenever I wanted to, you probably wouldn't be listening on a consistent basis. Or if you discovered the show, you probably wouldn't stick around. You probably wouldn't subscribe because you don't know what to expect. But the fact that you know that every Monday and Thursday, I'm going to release and come at you with a new episode, I think that's part of the reason that the show has been successful. So think about where you're being inconsistent in your life and where you need to force accountability. Where can you make it so that your desired outcome is inevitable? So Erica told me, I said, well, so what's your consequence? And she goes, well, our next Ascend retreat is in January in West Palm Beach. And she says, well, you know how you and Steve, always take us out to a nice dinner? I said, yeah. And she goes, and you do that for both groups, right? Because Ascend is made up of two, pretty small, intimate groups of the right people. And she goes, well, if I don't consistently record and publish 2 videos every single week for 12 weeks, I will take care of dinner for not just my group, but for the other group. And I know you guys are probably, picking somewhere nice in West Palm Beach. And that's going to be pretty expensive. I said, you want to know what, Erica? Yeah, it's going to be expensive. Yeah, we're going to probably go to a very nice restaurant, and I accept you. I accept that as your consequence. So I said, before we hop off this call, I want you to do one more thing. I want to really, really just really make it so that what you want is going to happen. I said, I want you to go into our private Ascend Facebook group, and I want you to post just a quick summary of our coaching call, what you've struggled with up until now, what you've committed to, and then what the consequence is going to be if you don't follow through. And I want now, instead of me holding you accountable, now you have about 40 something people that are going to hold you accountable. And she felt very uncomfortable. And she told me that. And she says, but you want to know what? That's what I'm here for. And so I want you to just kind of pause for a second and ask yourself, where can you hold yourself accountable? And then take it a step further. What is it you can do so that others can hold you accountable? Is it putting yourself out there? A lot of people in the health and fitness space do this, where they take a picture shirtless, or women in a sports bra, and they show their before pictures. And then at some point down the line, they show their after picture. And that takes a lot of courage. I have a lot of admiration for people that do that, whether, they might be 300 pounds or 200 pounds or 150 pounds or whatever. The fact that they're putting themselves out there, and that's a level of accountability. Because if you're going to put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm doing this, 75 hard was a perfect example of that. And that's part of the reason that I did 75 hard, and then phase 1 and phase 2 I'm going to do at the beginning of the new year. So I'm really hoping that this particular episode just kind of gets you thinking about what's the one thing you've wanted to accomplish? What's the one thing that would really make an impact on your life or business that you've been procrastinating on, that you haven't followed through for A or B reason, that you knew if you had some inevitable forced accountability would get you gaining momentum and ultimately get you to accomplish the very thing that you want to accomplish. And then take inventory, take stock of the people around you. How can you put yourself in a position that makes you uncomfortable, that forces the accountability? Is it posting something on social media? Is it making a public declaration? How can you put yourself out there and get a group of the right people to walk alongside you, hold you accountable, tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear? What kind of consequence? By the way, this is very important. Whenever you decide on a consequence, or have others decide on a consequence for you, which is even better, by the way, it's got to be something that stings. It's got to be something that hurts, whether it's an amount of money, or whether it's a donation to the opposing political party, or a donation to an organization that just goes against your core values, or something that would be extremely painful for you. What would that be? So think about it. Have some fun with it, and do it in a way where there's no way that consequence, that you're going to even allow yourself to have to go through that. So you're going to follow through, i.e. forced accountability. That's what I want to leave you with on today's podcast episode. Appreciate those of you who have reached out. We've got some Ascend interviews lined up to fill the last few spots that we have. So if you have any interest in that, ascendyoursuccess.com. And we'll just connect on a quick call and see if it's the right fit, see how we might be able to help you. And, it's interesting. A lot of people, probably 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 people that we talk to, and we only accept people that have a certain level of experience in business and really have a desire to impact others. Accountability is usually at the core of why they're seeking out putting themselves in the right environment, getting coaching, and just being a part of the right environment. So I think it just kind of ties into today's episode, whether it's Ascend or anything else. Like, make sure that you're putting yourself in the right environment of people that are going to hold you accountable. Have an amazing day. Look forward to connecting with you on the next one. Take care. One last thing before you go, if you have been listening to the show for a while and or you have been getting value from the show, I would be 100% honored if you would share this show with a friend, or maybe share it with somebody that you think could benefit from this. It's my mission, it's my cause, it's my purpose through Flip Empire to impact and touch people's lives, to help people and in their businesses. So it would be an honor if you would be willing to share this episode. And one last thing, make sure that you're subscribed so that you get notified every Monday and Thursday when shows get released. I look forward to connecting with you on the next one. Until then, have a great day.